People will tell you that a grown man with a shelf of painted robots, 27 rule books, and a drawer full of tiny dice is running away from real life. That's the polite version. The truth is more uncomfortable. He might be one of the last men who can still sit down, read the instructions, think hard for 3 hours, lose without whining, argue about line of sight, fix the wobbly table leg, and show up again next Saturday. And in the world you're living in now, that almost counts as a superpower. His name is Ray. Ray is 53, maybe 56. It's hard to tell because Gen X men either look 10 years younger than they are or like they personally poured the first mile of the interstate. Ray lives alone, but not the sad way you picture. There's a coffee mug by the sink that's been there since Tuesday because Tuesday was not the day to deal with it. There's a toolbox in the hallway. There's an old stereo that still runs because Ray fixed it twice and refuses to throw out anything that opens with a screwdriver. And in one room, there's the real command center. Not a gaming setup with color-changing lights. A table. A real table with weight to it. On it you'll find maps, books, dice, measuring tools, painted miniatures, half-painted miniatures, and one miniature that's been almost finished since 1997. Ray knows exactly which one you mean. He doesn't love your tone about it. One shelf, Dungeons and Dragons. Not just new printings, heavy old ones, pages that smell like basement, pizza, and an argument from 1989 that nobody actually won. Another shelf, BattleTech. That's where Ray gets serious. DD is his first love. BattleTech is his emotional support war machine. Because somewhere behind the bad knee, the reading glasses, the old work injuries, and the permanent suspicion that every new app was designed by people who've never changed a tire, there's a hidden machine. Armored, patient, maybe overheating, but still running. Here's why the hobby stuck to these men so hard. It never flattered them. It didn't tell them they were special every 10 seconds. It handed them systems. It handed them consequences. It gave them a world where preparation mattered, where dumb decisions came with a receipt. And Gen X men respect the receipt. They were raised in a world where the receipt was often the only adult in the room. A lot of them came home from school to an empty house. They had a key, a snack plan, 3 TV channels, and instructions like, "Don't burn the house down," which in the 1980s counted as parenting. So they figured things out. How to make a meal from bread and mystery meat, which dogs were not safe, how to fix a bike chain and act normal when the grown-ups were clearly not in control. Then one day a few of them found a strange book full of monsters, and suddenly the empty house had a dungeon in it. That part gets missed. People talk about DD like it was only social, but a lot of the work happened alone. A boy could sit in his room, build a character, roll dice, draw maps, invent a pit trap so unfair even he felt bad about it, then use it anyway, because the party had to learn. From the outside that looks like loneliness. From the inside, it was preparation. Loneliness is when nobody comes. Solitude is when nobody interrupts you while you're calculating whether a dragon can even fit through a corridor you drew too narrow. Alone was where the thinking got done. Then the group showed up, and the private work became social. The map became an adventure. The folding table became a battlefield where 4 grown men proved that friendship survives almost anything except unclear house rules. That's the rhythm of their whole lives. Do the work alone, show up with the work, see if it survives contact with other people. That's basically Gen X adulthood with dice. Ray keeps his dice in a tray, not a bag, because at some point he decided chaos needed borders. He has one D20 he does not trust. Everyone has one. Nobody throws it out. That would be emotional, but it's been quietly demoted. There's a whole justice system in a tabletop man's dice collection. Good dice get promoted. Cursed dice become guest dice for people who forgot theirs. Outsiders think dice are random. Ray knows better. The miniature painting is its own religion. There are men who can talk for 20 minutes about primer. A normal person hears that and thinks, this man needs help. Then you watch him work. He isn't coloring toys. He's steadying his own hands. He's choosing patience. He's dry brushing the metal edges of a mech that, in his head, has survived 3 campaigns, 2 betrayals, and 1 incident with heat sinks that nobody at the table is allowed to bring up anymore. A younger guy asks, "Why not buy it pre-painted?" Ray looks at him like the kid just suggested microwaving a steak. Because buying the result isn't the point. The labor is the bond. This is the generation that assembled things without a tutorial video. They fixed cassette tapes with a pencil. They read manuals, because manuals weren't optional. So, when a game showed up with dense rules, charts, modifiers, and a paragraph that made less sense the fifth time you read it, they didn't run. They leaned in. And if the rule was bad, they fixed it. House rules might be the most Gen X thing in the hobby. The book says one thing, the group tries it, it feels stupid, and after 10 minutes of arguing, somebody says, "Okay, from now on we do it this way." No committee, no app update, just a local fix, made by the people who have to use it. That's how they learn to live. Sink leaks? Fix it. Boss built a terrible process? Build a workaround. So the table became one of the last places these men felt fully competent. Modern life keeps moving the controls. Work changes platforms, phones change buttons, companies rename simple things until nobody knows where anything is. But on the table, the rules are visible. The tools are physical. And even when the rules are insane, at least they're honestly insane. BattleTech especially respects a mind that likes systems with scars on them. It doesn't hand a man a smooth fantasy of power. It hands him heat, armor locations, ammo to worry about, movement he has to trade for. It gives him the beautiful stupidity of firing everything because he got emotional, then realizing his mech now runs at the internal temperature of a gas station burrito. They call it escapism. He calls it accountability with lasers. The machine is powerful but limited. It can take damage, but the damage adds up. It can win, but only if the pilot respects the machine. That's middle age in hexes. DD gives him something else, the old dream of the party, the strange little found family. For a generation raised around divorce, busy parents, and adults who seemed to be improvising badly, the party mattered more than people admit. A good group is a crew, not just friends hanging out. Everyone has a role. And a man who's lived alone for years can still have a table where he belongs. He may not want a house full of noise, but once a week he wants the familiar voices, the same jokes that stopped being funny in 2003 and got funny again through pure stubbornness. He wants someone to say, "Are we really doing this?" And another man to say, "Too late, I already rolled." That's male friendship in a form these men can actually use. Because plenty of men aren't great at scheduling emotional connection, but they're great at scheduling a campaign. The feelings show up later, disguised as logistics. A guy's going through a divorce, but he still comes to play. Nobody makes a speech. Somebody hands him pizza. Somebody complains about his dice. 3 months later, he realizes the table is what kept him tied to the world. The need hides inside the game. Bring your character sheet. Bring yourself if you can. That's enough. Ray once had a character who spent 12 sessions pursuing an elven sorceress named Valera Moonshade. He insists it was a roleplay choice. The group insists it was the most committed emotional arc of his adult life. She was elegant, ancient, dangerous, and completely imaginary, which made her Ray's most stable relationship of the late 1990s. 20 years later, someone will still say, "Careful, Ray, she might be an elven sorceress," and everyone laughs like idiots. That shared nonsense is the glue every long-running group has, and it never needed an audience. The jokes didn't need likes. The painted miniature didn't need to be posted. The whole thing was allowed to exist inside the room and still matter. That's almost radical now. Ray's group is older now. Sessions start earlier because everyone gets tired. Fewer 2-liter sodas, more conversations about acid reflux. Somebody forgot their reading glasses. Somebody has a shoulder thing that affects dice throwing, which sounds fake until you hit 50 and discover your body has opinions about everything. But the table's still there, and Ray still gets that small feeling when the map opens and the pieces come out. The feeling that the world just became understandable for a few hours. That all the noise boiled down to terrain, range, choice, consequence, and friends roasting each other with great precision. Then a friend says, "You sure you want to move there?" And Ray says, "Yeah," even though everyone knows he shouldn't. Then the dice roll. Maybe he wins. Maybe he gets cored through the center torso by a man named Dave who's been smug since the Reagan administration. Either way, he'll complain, argue about probability, accuse the dice of misconduct, and send that nasty little cube straight into exile. And next time, he'll come back. Because that's the whole loop. Prepare alone. Show up together. Think hard. Lose with sarcasm. Fix the rule. Paint the damage. Keep going. The world calls it a game because that's the easiest box to put it in. But for Ray, the table was never only about pretending to be someone else. It's where he learned how to be himself, without making a big announcement about it. A little solitary, a little loyal, a little overprepared, a little suspicious of authority, still carrying old damage. And somehow, after all these years, still building a world out of cardboard, glue, dice, and stubborn attention. Still hearing the heavy footsteps of a mech somewhere inside him, and still ready to roll.